Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter. I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing how to grow your business. So, we're talking about how to check for liens on a property. Now, I'm going to tell you actually how to do that. But at the end, if you stay to the end, I'm going to tell you why it's really different in New York, while checking for liens on a property are different in New York than any other state. I don't know about any other state, but most other states. So, first of all, what is a lien? A lien is some kind of a mortgage is a lien. It's some kind of hold on the property saying that we need to get paid before you sell it, right? Something has to happen before you sell it. So for a mortgage, if you sell it, you got to pay off the lien. If sometimes there are tax liens where you didn't pay taxes and they attach this lien, this hold onto the house, and they want to get paid, and they say one day we'll get paid when you sell the house, that kind of thing. There are all kinds of different liens. But the most general liens are mortgages or tax liens or something unpaid or some kind of judgment. Somebody got a judgment against you and attach it to your home. Now, it's different. The truth is it's different in every single county. So I'm going to talk about the counties close to me. So I operate mostly in Nassau County, sometimes occasionally in the 5 boroughs of New York City and in Suffolk County. So in Nassau County, it's pretty simple. And in the 5 boroughs, it's pretty simple. Suffolk County is a little more complicated. So let's talk about it. So in Nassau County, the way it works is you need a section, block, and lot. You can get that from mynassauproperty.com, and you'll see right away 3 numbers, section, block, and lot. I write them down, and then I go to uslandrecords.com, and then I do a section search. I put in the section, block, and lot, and it'll show me pretty much everything recorded since around the 80s, which covers almost everything. I mean, something recorded before that is rare. So in Nassau County, it's pretty easy because not only can you see what was recorded, like you'll see mortgage, but you can click on it and see the actual mortgage. That's really the important part. In the 5 boroughs of New York City, I think I'm going to sneeze. Okay, I'm okay. In the 5 boroughs of New York City, it's also pretty simple. It's called ACRIS. I would just Google acris.com. You need the BBL, the borough block and lot, but within ACRIS, it'll find that with an address, and then you could do the same search. You'll see what's recorded, and then you will see the actual document. So it's important to see the actual document, right? Someone has a mortgage 20 years ago. You know, what's the story with it? It could be a mortgage for $1 million, and it could really be a mortgage for multi-million dollars. I've seen that where someone took an SBA loan to buy a business. They attach all the properties this guy owns, and they attach this massive lien to it. Or it could be a mortgage for $10,000 that almost certainly is paid off. And even if it's not paid off, even over 20 years, it's going to be $30,000. So the amounts are really important when you're checking liens. Now, Suffolk County is much harder. Suffolk County, they have a crazy 19-digit SCTN, Suffolk County tax number, which you can only get via the town. So you need to know which town it is in Brookhaven, Smithtown, all the Huntington, wherever it is. You go to the town website, and it'll give you the Suffolk County tax number. Then you go to the Suffolk County clerk's website, and you can see what's recorded there, but you can't see the actual documents. You can see that a mortgage was recorded, and you can see some things. You have to actually pay to see those documents, which is a huge pain in the ass, and is really completely backwards, if you ask me. But that's how Suffolk County works. Now, every county you're in is going to be different. Some counties are going to make this very easy for you. Some counties are going to make that harder. You have to actually look at the county. If you don't know what you're talking about, I would actually go call up your county clerk's office and say, hey, I want to see what liens are on a property that I'm looking to buy. Now, the way this happens in general in an ordinary transaction is that a title report is run, right? So when you're buying a property and you go to contract, you order a title report, right? You or your attorney is going to order a title report. I order a lot of title reports, right? Because I buy a lot of properties. And I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. I had a power outage last night from like 1 to 2, and it woke me up because everything started beeping and the air conditioning went off, and I'm exhausted. Back to title. So title report. So when you run a title report, it'll show you all the liens, right? The title company actually sends somebody down to that county's office and will really check to make sure that they don't miss anything. That's the way it usually happens. Now, I have a luxury because I order a lot for my title company that if I do order a title report and I don't end up closing, they usually do not charge me any cost because they're making a lot of money on me on all the deals that I do close, and most of the titles I run, I do close on them, or assign them, and the cash buyer that I assign them to will use my title. So that's how you usually get it. Now, what's sort of different in New York, and one of the most amazingly underrated things about New York, and something that if you only operate in New York, you don't operate in other parts of the country, you won't even realize that. In New York, every time somebody sells you a property, all the liens are paid off by the seller. So even at an auction. So I remember going many years ago when I really wanted to grow my business. I paid a lot of money. I think it was $10,000 to a guy named Lee Carney who was doing a lot of business in Florida just to see how his operation worked. And it really opened my eyes to what could be possible. And he bought a lot of properties at auction. He was buying like 50 properties a month. And the way Florida works, you can buy them online. The auctions you can put bids in online. And he was saying he had to run like a title research on each of these properties before he bought it because he wanted to see what liens were. And I was shocked. I was like, what the hell do you run title for? I never had run title. And I had bought over 100 properties at auction in New York at that point. Because in a lot of states, and especially Florida, when they sell properties, they sell them subject to the liens, which means what liens are on them transfer to you. And buyer beware, if that guy has a $1 million tax lien, you're going to get stuck with and never be able to sell the property until you deal with it. But in New York, everything comes clean. Nothing gets sold subject to, right? And going back to off topic, there are a lot of people who think they're going to do subject to purchases in New York. It's as close to impossible as could be, right? Because you have a seller's attorney who's never going to allow them. Oh, let me explain what's subject to. So in general, there's a subject to thing that happens. It really works in 49 states where you can buy a property from a seller and he will leave his mortgage in place, right? He just wants to walk away from the property. Somehow it works with a cash flow situation where you could maybe find a tenant that'll pay the monthly payments and it'll work and you can get profit from it. But it doesn't work in New York because two major reasons in New York. Number one, sellers are represented by an attorney, and I don't know one attorney in the world who's going to allow his client to sell a property and leave his credit in the hands of the buyer. Because if the buyer doesn't make payments, it's going to hurt his credit. I'm pretty sure the lawyer would be subject to malpractice in New York. It's just not done. Second thing is title companies. So in 49 states, the title companies really run the transaction. They are the ones who transfer the money. If they agree to do something, they're fine. And in most states, they're okay if a seller says, hey, leave the mortgage in place. I'm willing to take my chances with this buyer. The title company says, we don't care, right? Technically, is there a due on sale clause that's really due? Yes. But in most states, they don't care. They're really running the transaction. If the parties agree, they're fine to facilitate it. In New York, the title companies do not run the transaction. An attorney runs the transaction. And a title company has two jobs. One, make sure all the taxes are paid. And two, make sure all the liens are paid off. I don't know of one title company in New York that's going to allow for a lien to stay in place. I don't know of any. Now, there might be. But the idea that you're going to find an attorney who agrees to it, which I find almost impossible, and a title company to agree with it, very, very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. Nothing's impossible. But it's as close to impossible as can be in New York because that's just the way transactions happen in New York. They happen differently than in all 49 states, dramatically differently, light years differently, right? Which is why, and even as I say this, I'm shocked. I'm the only guy who operates in New York, has operated in other states, and who teaches how to do this in New York. So congratulations for finding the one guy who actually does it and teaches it, right? There are people who live in New York who say they teach it, but they operate in New Jersey. There's people who teach how to do it in New York, but don't really do it in New York. I'm the one guy I think who does. If there is anybody else, please let me know. I don't know of any. Okay, so back to how things work in New York and why subject twos are not in New York and how you get fine leads. So in other states, when you're buying at an auction or even when you're buying anything, before you put an offer, you want to run some kind of title. Now, title in other states is much quicker. You can run title in like a day or two. In New York, it'll take 2 weeks in a lot of places, especially now with a lot of the municipalities still closed for the pandemic. They're impossible. So you don't need to run title when you put an offer in New York, because whatever liens are on there are going to be the responsibility of the seller. If the seller can't pay it off, then you're going to get out of the deal. It's not the only way. So again, there are no inspection contingencies in New York. That only works in other places. In New York, you do the inspection before you go to contract. Any repairs you want made, they put an addendum into the contract. The only out I have every time I close, I have no outs. The only way I'm out of a contract is if the seller cannot convey title, or if the seller is some kind of title problem. So if a seller has a lien that he didn't know about, then the deal's not going to close, and I'm going to get my deposit back. It's really that simple. Okay. That's pretty much it. So how do you check for liens? I told you how to do it in the beginning. It's different in every county. I would call my county clerk to get help on it to see if they have some kind of online presence. Almost every county does. I hope this was helpful. I hope you don't ever really know if any of this is helpful, but I hope it's helpful. And if you're interested in other ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in learning about my course that teaches how to do what I do, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com. If you are interested in possibly one-on-one coaching from me, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. What else? If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you are watching on any platform, please give me the thumbs up. The likes really help me out. A lot more people have been seeing my videos lately, and it's because of a lot of the likes. I guess it's just how the algorithm works with YouTube or Facebook. I don't know how it works. But keep the comments coming too. So I get comments every day. I try to answer comments every day. If it's a simple, there are no bad comments. Even if it sounds stupid to you, I promise you, if it's a simple answer, I'll just answer. If it's a question that I've covered in depth or very recently, or both, I will send links to a video or multiple videos. And if it's something I haven't covered in a long time, or I haven't covered at all, I will do a video on it just like this. So keep the comments coming. I go live 5 times a week. Sometimes I don't know what the hell to say. So I really appreciate the comments. Comments help me. So keep the comments coming. Thank you very, very much for watching.